The evening sky hung heavy over Carolyn Harper's small suburban house, its fading orange glow barely slipping past the worn curtains. Inside, the quiet was absolute, so quiet Carolyn could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator and the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the kitchen wall. She sat at the edge of her couch, a lukewarm cup of tea untouched on the table, staring blankly at the muted television. Narration carried her thoughts, a life marked by repetition. Mornings spent alone at the breakfast table, evenings watching reruns no one laughed at with her. Weekends filled with grocery runs and solitary walks through crowded places where no one noticed her. She wasn't always alone. Once, there had been a husband, friends, a family of sorts, but time had chipped away at all of it, leaving only shadows of memories and an ache that no amount of books or wine could soothe. With a sigh, Carolyn unlocked her phone, scrolling through endless profiles on a dating app. Most were predictable, meant her age, looking for companionship or friendship. She almost closed the app when a new message appeared. "You have the kindest smile I've ever seen." The sender's name was Ethan Cole, age 23. His profile photo showed a strikingly handsome young man with warm brown eyes. Carolyn's breath caught. Her fingers trembled as she typed back a reply. Hours later, after a flurry of messages, she set her phone down, heart pounding, and whispered into the empty room, "Maybe this time will be different." The days began to blur into one another, each one tethered to the soft ping of Carolyn's phone. What started as a single unexpected message quickly grew into constant conversations, their exchanges stretching late into the night. Carolyn would lie in bed in the dark, clutching her phone, her face lit only by the glow of the screen, as Ethan Cole's words filled the silence of her lonely home through dialogue. Ethan revealed pieces of himself, carefully chosen fragments of a life he claimed was complicated. "Ethan, people think they know me, but they don't. You actually listen, Carolyn. Carolyn, maybe that's because I know what it feels like to be unseen. Ethan, that's why I need you. You make me feel safe." His messages were tender, romantic, even poetic. He spoke of his difficult childhood, a family that never understood him, and his struggle to find purpose. Carolyn, starved for connection, drank in every word, her heart swelling with the possibility of being loved again. Yet, there were subtle warning signs she tried to ignore. Ethan never agreed to video calls, always claiming his camera was broken. When she asked about his work or where he lived, his answers were vague, shifting like sand beneath her feet. One evening, Debbie, Carolyn's longtime friend, voiced her concern over coffee. "Debbie, Carolyn, something feels off. Please be careful." But Carolyn, blinded by hope, only smiled and shook her head. That night, as Ethan's voice whispered through her phone, he asked her to meet him. With trembling hands and a pounding heart, Carolyn said yes. Carolyn stood before her bedroom mirror, clutching a soft red blouse to her chest. It had been years since she dressed for anyone but herself, and now every detail felt monumental. Her hands trembled as she applied lipstick, pausing to study the woman staring back at her. For the first time in decades, she saw not just a middle-aged divorcee, but someone with possibility shimmering in her eyes. She spent days preparing for the trip, buying new clothes, getting her hair styled, and even painting her nails a pale pink. As she packed her suitcase, narration revealed her daydreams, visions of walks by the lake, dinners by candlelight, and a second chance at happiness across town. The tone shifted sharply. Ethan sat in a dark room lit by the cold glow of his phone screen, his expression unreadable as he watched Carolyn's travel updates appear. His thumbs moved deliberately, typing sweet replies, but his eyes were flat and calculating, as if he were preparing for something far different than romance. Debbie stopped by that afternoon, worry etched on her face. "Debbie, Carolyn, you barely know this man. Please, just promise me you'll be careful." Carolyn, smiling faintly, "Debbie, he's different. I can feel it. This is my chance." Debbie's mouth opened as if to argue, but Carolyn hugged her tightly, cutting off the words. Hours later, at the bus station, Carolyn clutched her ticket and phone like lifelines. She sent Ethan a final text, her heart fluttering. "On my way. Can't wait to see you." As the bus doors closed, Carolyn never noticed the cold smirk forming on Ethan's face miles away. The bus hissed as it slowed to a stop, releasing a gust of cold night air that made Carolyn shiver. She clutched her purse tightly, heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. Through the fogged glass, she spotted him. "Ethan, tall and handsome. Waving eagerly Doris, he stepped onto the cracked pavement. He rushed forward, sweeping her into a hug so sudden and tight it knocked the breath from her lungs. Caroline's chest swelled with warmth, tears pricking her eyes. Finally, she thought, someone who chose me. Ethan, you made it. I've been counting the hours. Caroline. Breathless. I couldn't wait to see you, to Caroline. It felt like a dream, the perfect beginning to a love story she'd only ever imagined. But beneath Ethan's bright smile, his jaw tightened. His eyes flickered nervously to the corners of the station, scanning for faces, for witnesses. His hand stayed firm on Caroline's back, more possessive than affectionate as they walked toward his car, a beat-up truck with peeling paint. The night seemed to grow darker, heavier. The town was eerily quiet, its streets lined with shuttered stores and empty houses. They drove in near silence, the only sound the hum of the engine and the crunch of tires on gravel. Tall, shadowy woods loomed on either side of the narrow road, swallowing the headlights when they finally pulled up to a small, weather-beaten house. Caroline's excitement wavered. She stared at the crooked porch, a flutter of unease rising in her chest. She quickly smothered with a hopeful smile. The first night in Ethan's home felt nothing like the tender reunion Caroline had imagined during countless late-night calls. At first, everything seemed warm and thrilling. Ethan cooked her dinner, poured wine into mismatched glasses, and toasted to new beginnings. But as the hours stretched on, small things began to unravel. While exploring the hallway, Caroline reached for a tarnished brass knob on a door she hadn't noticed before. The moment her fingers brushed it, Ethan's voice snapped through the air like a whip. Ethan, don't. That room's off limits. Caroline, startled. Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. His face softened a second later, his tone shifting like a flipped switch. Ethan, forcing a smile. It's just storage. Forget about it. The rest of the evening became a dizzying dance of moods. At one moment, Ethan was affectionate, brushing her hair back and whispering how beautiful she was. The next, he grew distant. His jaw clenched as he scrawled his phone with a cold detachment that chilled her through narration. The shadows of Ethan's inner life flickered, debts piling up, a history of rejection gnawing at him, a desperate need to control the only thing in his reach. Caroline. Later, lying in the cramped bedroom, Caroline stared at the cracked ceiling, her heart heavy. She replayed every sharp word, every strange glance, battling the whisper of doubt creeping into her mind, pulling the thin blanket tighter. She forced a trembling smile into the darkness and whispered, "He's just stressed. He loves me." The following morning, Ethan left early, muttering something vague about errands in town. Caroline, eager for fresh air and a moment alone, wandered along the narrow dirt road leading past the property. The mist still clung to the trees, their dark silhouettes bending like watchful figures dotted the edge of the property line. A small garden bloomed wildly beside a weathered farmhouse. An elderly woman knelt among the flowers, humming softly. She glanced up as Caroline approached, her sharp grey eyes studying her with unsettling intensity. "Mrs. Whitfield," smiling faintly. "You must be Ethan's guest." Caroline, relieved to see another friendly face. "Yes." Caroline, "It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Whitfield's expression shifted, the smile faltering. "Mrs. Whitfield," voice low, "you seem like a kind soul. Be careful with that boy. You're not the first to come here, you know. Others have visited." She hesitated, her gaze dropping to the soil. "They never stayed long." A nervous laugh bubbled from Caroline's throat. Caroline, "Oh, I'm sure it's nothing like that. We're happy." But as she walked back toward Ethan's house, Mrs. Whitfield's words gnawed at her, planting a seed of unease she couldn't shake. The creaking porch steps announced her return. Caroline glanced up and froze. Ethan stood at the upstairs window, perfectly still, his face cast in shadow. His expression was unreadable. Watching, waiting, night fell heavy and silent, the kind of darkness that pressed against the windows and swallowed every sound. Caroline sat on the one couch, nervously twisting her hands in her lap as Ethan paced the room. The shadows from the flickering lamp stretched long across the walls, making his movements seem sharper, more volatile. She took a steadying breath.